The Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Mamman, on Monday, the 11th of September, said that the President Bola Tinubu administration would grant full autonomy to federal government-owned universities in the country, which would allow universities to source funding through various means to enable them meet their financial obligations. He recalled that President Bola Tinubu is committed to overhaul the education sector as a matter of priority. But the minister's comments have received a response from the Secretariat of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, which said that the federal government cannot totally back out from funding universities. ASUU President, Professor Emmanuel Osodeke, said it is clearly stated in the Constitution that the federal government must fund public universities. He noted that if the law is followed to run university operations without any interference from bureaucrats, there will be little to worry about in terms of funding. To discuss this further, we're joined this morning by the ASUU President, Professor Emmanuel Osodeke. Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning.
All right. I would like you to give us some more clarity. Whilst the government is saying that they would allow ASUU, they will allow the universities to fund themselves. There have been complaints about the government not being able to fund universities, and as such, we're seeing a reaction with universities like UNILAG and OAU, I believe, increasing their tuition fees. But you've clearly stated that the government cannot say that they no longer will fund universities. So we'd like you to explain further on that.
Let me make some correction before I will start my comment. ASUU never berated Minister of Education over autonomy. We didn't do that at that meeting. What I presented at the channel television, I did say, I said the minister did not say so. What the minister said was that he set a committee that will look at on roadmap of an education so that we'll get it clear. We didn't berate the minister. So let's get that said. That's what your heading there is saying. Two, we have said that we will have a meeting with the minister to get the government side. And three, we said autonomy does not mean that university is abandoning funding of universities. What we said was that there is already autonomy in place, and where by law, the University Ministerial Act passed by the National Assembly and assented by the President, and that is autonomy that we have in place. So that we will be because I found out when Nigerian press are reporting, you don't report exactly what the President said. So that is what I said at that meeting yesterday, at that program yesterday, that there is already autonomy in place, enacted in 2003, and have been amended by something known as the University Ministerial Act, which indicated that the president of this country serve as a visitor to the university, and the visitor appoint a governing council that will manage the affairs of the university on behalf of government, and stated that any document coming from the ministry, from this thing, as far as the university, they are null. That's what we said yesterday, not berate the minister.
Kindly go ahead. Let's also understand, of course, apologies for the mix-up there with the press statement, but, kindly go ahead, and help us understand your views concerning universities funding. Yes, it is in Section 18, as you also quoted, of the Nigerian Constitution, but it's not, judiciable, I think that's the word. And why do you think the government cannot at this point back out, from funding or handling the funding of universities? There's arguments that Nigerian universities should be able to source funds for themselves. They, should be able to, think of new ways, research, agriculture, somehow, some way, and, generate funds for themselves and let the government only maybe just support. But what do you argue against that?
The your argument is clear. Are you also saying that government should hand off everything, hand over from National Assembly, hand over from all parastatal government from funding them? You see, the number one priority for any government in the world is education. And you can't just throw it away. That's what we are saying. Why do we keep on talking about government, university funding themselves, and so forth and so on? Is that what other parastatals are doing? Will government also hand off from other parastatals and allow them fund themselves? You see, let's put it very straight. One of the problems we have in the country is because we have not taken education really serious. You go all over the country, you see children hawking water, hawking food. You go to part of the country, you see students on the road begging because we didn't fund the education. And the implication is that those people you allow to just roam the street become a very big mouse pool for all these criminalities. And that is what we are saying, that any country that wants to develop in the world must fund education properly. And I have never had the president or the minister or any government officer say that federal government want to hand off funding of education. These are just things generated by Nigerian press. And I don't think it's fair for this country. No minister have said, and I need to be quoted, you need to quote any of them. No government official have said, not even the president has said that we will hand off funding of education. I've not heard that. So I think we should be quoting people exactly what they said. And it's well stated in the Nigerian Constitution.
Yeah, it is in the Nigerian Constitution, Section 18 of the Nigerian Constitution. But I also want you to expand further on the interference from bureaucrats, that you're speaking of here, that might also be causing certain challenges. Can you share exactly what what that means? Professor Osodeke, can you hear us?
I'm hearing you.
All right, I'm asking if you can expand a little bit, that there's some interference from bureaucrats, that may also be causing a clog in the wheel here. Can you expand further on what that means?
What we said is that a university is an autonomous body by the University Autonomy law. That is what the university is. And I saw it was in the 70s, 80s, when they were running well. But today, a vice chancellor wants to employ an outstanding professor that he has been looking for. He must go to the office of the accountant general to take permission from accountant general before he can, head of service, before he can employ such a person. And if that person is employed, you can imagine a professor who comes from outside the country, want to lecture in our Nigerian university, the VC had to go and get permission to employ him. Having been employed, he's told to go to Abuja and enroll on IPs. He had to travel with his phone to Abuja, stay 2 or 3 days in Abuja, queue behind maybe a clerical officer, a level 5 officer, to register before. Where is that done? Such a professor would join the next flight and leave the country. And that's why our colleagues are leaving today, because of this intervention. Two, you have all sorts of ministries inviting vice chancellor, come for this, come for that, which are not necessary. And those are part of the problem we have today. And that's what we're talking about. Let's obey and implement the University Miscellaneous Act as it is today, so that the vice chancellor can sit down in the university and concentrate on running the universities, not running from here and there. Although they're also part of the problem anyway. Recently, I heard that the vice chancellor went to university, Birmingham University, to go and have a conference. And I said, for what? I have to leave this country to Birmingham in UK to go and have a VC conference, CVCA conference. So these are the problems that we have in the system.
All right. Let's talk about what's currently going on with the hike in university fees. Yesterday, we had the NANS President, Lagos chapter, join us on the show to talk about the hike, especially in Unilag. Before we get into the hike itself, he had made a number of points. He did mention that at some point that the federal government had given an instruction that no university should charge or increase tuition fees. So I want you to clarify that for us. And then what exactly is going on? Because we have reports that Unilag has increased school fees up to the tune of 600%. What is going on? What's the way forward from there?
Thank you very much. This is what we have been fighting for the past 8 to 9 years in our negotiation with government. And they kept on coming with this idea of student paying this, student paying that. And we are saying that in a country where the minimum wage is 30,000 naira per month, which is 360,000 naira per annum, and you are introducing a school fees of 250,000 naira for one student, accommodation is not there, feeding is not there, books are not there, which means that the children of this set of Nigerians will be out of school. So when they're out of school, what happened? And that's our stand on this issue. Every Nigerian should have opportunity to have education. If some of us, if we didn't have opportunity when I was a student, I would not have gone to school. Because when I was a student, I was paid bursary for being a student. So that's what we're saying. Why are we charging fee that you know that majority of Nigerians cannot pay? Which means the children of these people will be out of school. But what are our suggestions? Our suggestion is that, look, one, let the government do what other countries in Africa and the world are doing. Increase our budgetary allocation to education. Last year, as I said yesterday, it was just 3.8%. But no country in West Africa, in Africa that we have seen the document with the documented, this you can Google it, give less than 15%, 12 to 15% to education. So if we do that, there will be increase in what we are giving to the universities. What the state government will give to secondary school, university, and primary school. And more of our students will be in school. So that's what we are saying.
Can you give us, any clarity as to the 3.8% that you just mentioned? Do you know if the federal government actually releases all of the 3.8% to the universities? Because it could be in the budget, but not all of it is released.
You are right. There's no year that amount has been released. No, the full amount is not released. It's part. But we are saying that with the new government in place, this government should try and put enough money in the educational sector, just like it was happening when we have the Western region there, give it between 20 and 30% to education. Go to Ghana, give almost 20% to education. And I think that's where we should go. And ensure that instead of our students running away from the country to Benin Republic, to Ghana, to UK, and what have you, students should be coming from all over the world to Nigeria. To rather our lecturers leaving the country, our doctors leaving the country, that will not have doctors and lecturers coming back to this country. I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so now let's talk about, now that there's been increase, the university students have been protesting against this increase. What's next? Yesterday, they told us we're going to have a meeting at midday with the bodies of the university, with the management of UNILAG. What do you foresee would be the next steps for us as we proceed?
For us as a union, we have done this in the past and we were berated, if we were abused by the parents and the students. So for now, we allow them to do their struggle. And we'll clap for them, we'll support them. But let them do their struggle. But when we're doing it for them, we were being abused. That's why we're going on strike, that's what we're doing on this, that's what that. But now, let us see the reality of that.
So ASUU would not, support these parents in this fight. They would not lend, a voice, in any way to the parents, asking for a reduction in school fees?
We're already doing that. ASUU already doing that.
Okay, all right. But of course, I would like to also know, and it's probably just the last question we ask you. 3.8%, last year was definitely not enough. You're pushing for 15, 20%. The United Nations, of course, says I think 27% should be the standard.
26%.
Yes, of funding of annual budget to education. I'm sure we both know that, that the Nigerian government may not be able to do that. But it's expected that would at least would ask them to do so. What more, if the government was able to raise its budget allocation to education to 10% or 15%, where do you think that money would be directed to? From these universities? What do you think they should invest a little bit more on if they received more money? In what ways can they improve on the quality of education that these students get?
Good. Number one, there have to be structures, space where students can relax in classroom. Today, you enter a typical classroom and you see 1,000 students sitting in the classroom that have less than 500 seats. So how will those students have good quality education? Two, laboratory equipment. When we were students, every student had access to a locker in a laboratory that have a microscope, have the equipment, you having the key. During practical, you come out, open your own, and bring out your equipment. But today, you have conducted a laboratory test for more than 100 students, and you have 2 microscopes. So how will those students learn? So they need to invest on the infrastructure. They need to have a good training. There's a need to increase the take-home pay of a professor, so that they can attract people from the university is universal, not like any other parastatal or ministry. You must get lecturers from all over the world to have good ranking. And that's why we're not well ranked. But because of what we pay today, lecturers are not coming from even our nearest neighbors. So for you to be one rank in the world, you must have lecturers that spread across the world. There's no standard university in the world you go to, you don't see a Nigerian lecturer. But there's no university you go to Nigeria today, you will see you will see a foreigner teaching our university. So you have to increase the wage of what you have. Then you also have to properly treat the academics, like the last regime did, holding the academic staff salary for 8 months because you want to punish them. But note that the work of a lecturer and that of others are not different. Since we came back, go and check any university. I remember have made up for the past. Every university is in 2023, 2023, 2024. You can go and check. So they have made up for the work. When you say no work, no pay, and they have done the work now, you should pay them. So you want to treat them, instead of meeting with them, since we came back from strike, lecturers in UK have gone on strike. But government will not allow that strike for the last 2 days. In Ghana have gone on strike. They will not allow it, but here you are on strike, they just believe that nothing happened. And that's why we are here. So we assume that this government, with what they have said in the past, will pay the backlog of those salaries to our members, boost their morale, increase appropriately the appropriate salary to be paid to a lecturer in this country to attract people from all over the world. And ensure that those who are here also in the system. I think those are the way to go. And we believe that it is not correct. If other countries can give 15%, if the Western region they can give up to 20%. So what has changed?
All right.
Well, there's always been the narrative that Nigeria, and I would always say Nigeria has a spending problem. Professor Osodeke, thank you very much for stopping by.
Thank you.
We'll look further into Nigerian universities funding and see how they maybe can generate more money. Thanks for your time. We'll speak with you again.
Thank you.
All right.